I welcome you all to the session of hydraulic machines. Today we will discuss about the optimum parameters, essentially to see the prevention of cavitation which is not desirable at all. So, if you try to recall, in the last two lectures we have discussed about the onset of cavitation, and we also have tried to identify the critical factor that is known as Thomas cavitation factor, and we also have seen that when and why this cavitation occurs. So, today we will be discussing about the optimum parameters. So, if I write cavitation, and again if we write, rather if we draw an impeller, if we try to erase it, and we have seen that cavitation occurs when static pressure locally falls, when static pressure locally falls below the vapor pressure, and it is not a case that this will occur only in the context of pump. It may occurs anywhere in the fluidic conduit if and only if the static pressure at any point falls below the vapor pressure at the prevailing temperature. So, now we have seen that in the context of pump operation there is a place perhaps which is more susceptible towards the onset of cavitation having pressure which is less than the vapor pressure. Which is that spot? So, you can see that this is basically hub. So, this is hub, right. So, I am writing this is hub, and this blade plus hub, that is known as impeller. Okay. Now, you can see that when this suction pipeline is connected to the pump impeller. Now, just if I try to draw the side view of this, so this is pump shaft, and so this is half diameter DH, and this is the suction pipe diameter DO. So, what we can see from this schematic depiction is that the pump, these blades plus hub, that is this impeller which is having a shaft. So, this is mounted on a shaft, and this is the shaft. So, this is shaft. Now, when water is coming from the source through a pipe and is getting into the pump impeller, then you can see that there is a change in direction from the axial one to the radial one, right, and that cannot be seen from this particular diagram. So, if we try to look at this, then we have to visualize that, but here it is clear that I mean if we try to see this impeller from this side, definitely we will have the geometry like this, and the liquid which will be coming through the suction line will be now having a direction change from the axial direction to the radial direction, and in the course of that flow, that means there is a change in flow direction, that is fine, but what will happen? Now you have seen that perhaps this is the place, I mean if we have a pump operation with negative suction condition, that means a pump is drawing water. So, if I try to draw a pump schematically, and this pump is taking water from a tank which is located say Hs distance below the pump datum. So, now this is the pump, this is suction side reservoir. So, you can see, I mean this distance is Hs, and then it is discharging. So, and here the pressure which is acting on the surface is absolutely absolutely the atmospheric pressure. We have seen that perhaps the driving force difference which allow the liquid to flow from the suction reservoir to the inlet to the pump. So, this is suction reservoir. Okay. So, that is the driving force, that is what we have derived. Now, that we had this derivation, and we have seen that the driving force is basically this P atmospheric minus the P, that is the pressure at the suction side. Question is, so though the pump is drawing liquid from the suction reservoir, chances are there that in the course of flow from this point, say this is point 1, this section is 1 1, and this is point E. So, when there is a flow of fluid from section 1 1 to the point E through the suction pipeline, chances are there that at any point suction pressure, rather pressure locally may fall below the vapor pressure. So, we have seen that perhaps this is the place, because here we will have a strainer which will try to kind of eliminate the impurities, those will be there in this reservoir, and also there will be bends and valves. So, when fluid is flowing from this suction reservoir through the strainer and suction line, then there are frictional losses. So, overcoming that frictional losses on the top of that static suction height Hs, the total head that will be available at point T, that may that may be less than the head which is available at the prevailing pressure. Question is, that is what we have seen. Now, again I am telling today that when there is a change in direction, as so this point, so this point is E. So, this point is E. Now, you can see, as long as the liquid is reaching at point T, fine, pressure may fall below the vapor pressure. So, cavitation may occur. The problem is, rather which is more important to note, that when there is a change in direction of the flow, then there is a sudden change in the cross sectional area. So, that will be a constricted passage, and in the direction of flow area gradually increasing. So, that is what we have seen from this diagram, right. Now, question is, because of this very narrow area, liquid will accelerate. So, when flow will now approach, so if we traverse little inside from the point E towards this flow passage, then we will see that the liquid is accelerating. So, because of this sudden acceleration, since the total energy is remaining constant, pressure will fall further. So, it is highly expected that if we traverse little inside towards this flow passage, say this point. So, this point I am marking, say this point is B. So, if we traverse little inside towards the flow direction from the point T, rather from point T, then at point B, chances are there that local pressure will be below the vapor pressure. If that is so, then we have seen from the previous classes, bubble formation will be there, and which in turn will lead to that undesirable phenomenon, that is cavitation. Okay. So, just now if we try to calculate, So, say I mean this point is B. So, that is slightly inside point E. Now, what is if I now apply this energy balance equation, that is steady flow energy equation between section 1 and point E, and that is what we have done in the last class. What we can write? We can write I mean P ATM by rho g equal P E by rho g plus V E square by 2 g plus H s plus H s f. So, this H s is the static suction height and H s f is the frictional losses, which we will take into account the losses due to presence of strainer, frictional losses, and also that is the total losses due to presence of strainer, frictional losses, and also due to presence of valve bends, etc. Fine. Now, what is important? So, this P plus V square by 2 g, that is what we have seen, that is the total head inclusive of static plus dynamic head, which is available at point E. Now, if this head, I mean we have seen that if this head, that is the inclusive of static plus dynamic head, is above the vapor pressure at that prevailing temperature, probably we have no need to take preventive measure to avoid cavitation, rather cavitation will not occur at all, but that is not the case. Fine. So, if we now further move towards the flow passage and if we now arrive at point B, then where if we try to find out what will be the pressure, then how can I mean if we try to calculate the pressure or head available at point B, right. So, when liquid takes a change in the direction in the flow path from axial to radial, from axial to radial, axial to radial, I am writing pressure will reduce further. Why? Since total energy is constant. Okay. So, that means if we try to find out, if we go to the previous slide, at point B velocity will increase at the cost of that increment in velocity, fluid velocity is rather. I really do not know whether any particular component, rather all components we have to take into account, at least two different components, that is the absolute velocity and the relative velocity. Fine. So, I mean because of these two velocity components which will be there and their magnitude will increase, definitely pressure head will, rather pressure will decrease. So, if we try to find out what will be pressure at that particular point, and if we consider that at this point B, if pressure is minimum and which is minimum and which is very close to, rather which may be even less than the vapor pressure. So, if we assume that because of the sudden acceleration pressure at this point B is minimum, then perhaps if we try to apply what will be P minimum. So, P B that, so if I write over here that at point B pressure will be minimum. So, I am writing P B equal to P minimum. Okay. So, what will be this P minimum? So, P B equal to P minimum will be what? So, what will be this P B minimum, I mean for in this context, right. So, you can see that here pressure is say, I mean at this particular point pressure is at this point E, pressure is P, but at this point B pressure is Pb, which is P minimum, which is definitely less than P by an amount. So, basically this Pb P minimum equal to P by rho g, which is definitely less than the P, and that is why our concern is that if pressure at point B which becomes lesser than P, then probably we need to take preventive measure to avoid gravitation. So, this is less than P by an amount which is equal to C1 square, I mean yes, if I C1 square by 2 minus W1 square by 2, right. So, that is what we have written, C1 square by 2 plus W1 square by 2. Okay. So, you know that this C1 and W1, that means if we try to draw the velocity triangle. So, say this is point T, at this point there is no swirl. So, this is U1, that is W1 and that is C1. So, this is point B. If we consider, so say this is point E, not B. So, this is point E, that is at the inlet to the suction side, right. Now, that is the inlet velocity triangle. We have drawn this velocity triangle so many times while we have discussed about radial flow pump and also the total head developed by the pump. Now, what we can see, and this angle is known as beta, that is blade angle at the inlet, okay, beta 1. Now, you can see that C1 is having a magnitude at the inlet, that at point E, W1 is also. So, basically U1 is, that is the tangential component velocity, that is fixed. W1 is the relative velocity, because relative velocity of the fluid, that velocity of the fluid relative to the blade, and the resultant is the absolute velocity, that is what we have discussed, right. Now, question is at point T we are having a certain value of C1 and W1. Now, if we traverse further downwards towards the, rather if we go further inside from this point E towards B, what we have seen? We have seen that fluid particle, rather fluid will accelerate, as because of this what will happen, this C1 and W1 will increase, and because of this increase of C1 and W1, this pressure P, that will be reduced further, and that is the P minimum. Now, this P minimum, now question is, we really do not know the magnitude of C1 and W1 at that particular point. This is very important point to be discussed here, right. So, we really do not know, that means if we go back this slide, we really do not know the magnitude of C1 and W1 at this point B. We know the magnitude of U1 at point T. We know, we can calculate magnitude of W1, because if we know the beta 1, right, because beta 1 that is known, that will be known, that will come from the inlet blade angle. If we know U1, we can calculate W1, and also we can calculate C1, that is fine, but if we traverse little inside, then at least at that point we do not have any clue to calculate C1 and W1, and that is why those are basically experimentally calculated value, and those are multiplied by the constant epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, right. So, basically if we try to calculate, then we can see that this is nothing but P by rho g minus epsilon 1 C1 square by 2 plus epsilon 2 C2 square by 2, sorry W1 square by 2, sorry. So, it will be W1 square by 2. So, it would be W1 square by 2, okay. So, it will be W1 square by 2. Here epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 are constant and obtained from experiments. Where epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 are constants and obtained from experiments. Okay. So, what we can see from this description, that P minimum is definitely less than P by rho g by an amount which is equal to this, right. and that is because of this acceleration. So, again I am telling, because I am trying to discuss this part seriously, because you should know that as the liquid will accelerate, the C1 and W1 will increase, these two component, but we really do not know the magnitude, and that is why these are multiplied by the constant epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, those are determined from experimental observation, experimental investigation, and so this is the magnitude. Now question is, if we know the magnitude of P by rho g. So P by rho g, that we will get, so if this is equation number 1. So from equation number 1 we can see that what is P by rho g in terms of atmospheric pressure. Why it is so? Because we know that this is only the fellow, that is atmospheric pressure, which will provide the energy, input energy for this particular case. Until and unless liquid is entering to the machine, there is no addition of energy, right. So at least up to the point T there is no addition of energy, only because of this atmospheric pressure. Primarily because of this atmospheric pressure, liquid moves from point section 1 to point T. Okay. So if we try to write that equation, I mean, so we can write that P minimum equal to P ATM by rho g minus, this is basically V, that will be C1 square. So you know that V square by 2 g. So V square by 2 g minus Hs minus Hsf minus epsilon C1 square by 2 plus epsilon W1 square by 2. Mind it, this V is essentially C1. So this V is C1, right. So if we try to go back here, this is the absolute velocity. So I mean from this, so V, that is C1. So C1 V ought equal to V equal to C1, right. So if we just do this algebraic manipulation, what we can write, if we go to the next slide, then the at point B, this P minimum by rho g equal P ATM by rho g, right. So here that is C1 square by 2 g. So if I take minus, so I can write minus 1 plus epsilon 1 C1 square by 2 g, right. Then minus Hs minus epsilon 2 W1 square by 2 g minus Hs minus Hsf. Okay. So this is what in fact we can write from this expression. Now you can see that just we will try to collect a few terms together. So P ATM by rho g minus Hs minus Hsf minus 1 plus epsilon into C1 square by 2 g minus epsilon 2 W1 square by 2 g. Okay. So you can see, if this pressure P minimum is less than the vapor pressure at that point, at that prevailing temperature, we cannot really ignore the formation of vapor bubbles and cavitation will occur, right. So basically cavitation not to occur, that P minimum by rho g should be greater than P v by rho g. So this is a condition which is true for cavitation not to occur, right. So cavitation not to occur, this is the condition that P minima by rho g should be greater than P v by rho g. Okay. Now you can see that which is if we try to find out rather, then what will be P minimum by rho g? So, this if that pressure at that point is greater than the vapor pressure. So, that means we can write that this quantity should be greater than equal to P v by rho g. This quantity should be equal to or greater than equal to P v by rho g, that is what is there, and if that is the case then cavitation should not occur, right. So, I mean if we try to write further, then what will happen, that this term 1 plus epsilon 1 plus 1 plus epsilon 1 into epsilon 2, right. So, this is very important term, and we can write that this is epsilon 3. Okay. So, we can write that P minimum by rho g equal P ATM by rho g minus Hs F minus epsilon 3 C1 square plus epsilon 2 W1 square divided by 2g, right. If we try to go to the previous slide, right, that is the case, and this should be greater than equal to P v by rho g, right. This what I did, I have written 1 plus epsilon 1 is equal to epsilon 2. So, this is the case. Okay. Now, you can see that what will happen, that if I mean this term, that means total term should be greater than P v by rho g, right. Now, you can see if we try to look at the expression of this equation, this is very common, that you can easily identify what is this, what is the first 3 terms and this is the last term, right. So, you can see that cavitation not to occur, that means P minimum by rho g minus P v by rho g will be greater than equal to 0, right. If that is the case, cavitation will not occur. Okay. So, what we can write, that if we try to write the limiting equation and converting all the terms into pressure head, right. So, here you can see that if we really think about the system parameters essentially to prevent the cavitation, then what are the important things our sperm designer and the system designer should consider, right. So, you can see this I know if I try to identify them in using different color. So, you can see that, so this is the last term and this is the first 3 terms. So, if I give name, this is term 2 and this is term 1. Okay. So, what these first 3 terms, if we take, if we collect them together, what does it indicate, right. So, if the term 1, if we consider if we consider collectively these 3 terms together and if we give them term 1, then what does it indicate, and also the term which is shown by 1 by 2. So, this 1, this is the parameters affecting the suction line condition. So, that means term 1 is having a few parameters which are affecting the suction line condition. That means, if we really need to have this term should be greater than P v by rho g. In the first term, if we look at, that means if we try to minimize Hs, if we try to minimize HSF and if we try to reduce Hs. So, this fellow is fixed. So, from here at least Hs should be as small as possible and Hs should be minimum, right. So, from the suction line condition, that is what today I wanted to have a discussion, that the suction height from where, I mean the suction pipeline static height should be as small as possible and HSF should be minimum. So, this is what is NPCH available. Okay. So, now you can see that if we now consider point 2. So, point 2 is very important, that is, so I mean if we need to minimize the chances of having cavitation, which is very detrimental for the pump operation, at least we have identified that the suction line condition should be designed properly. So, suction side, that is system design, which is very important. We will be discussing in a separate class that the system design or the pumping system design. So, at least from the point of view or from the perspective of cavitation, we can see that the suction line, height of the static height of the suction line, as well as frictional effect due to presence of valves, bends, and as well as for the transport of liquid from the through the pipeline should be minimum. Now, the point 2, which you can see that C1 square plus W1 square, right. So, question is, now it is the pump design parameter. So, basically this is pump design parameter. Pump design parameters, right. So, pump design parameters you can see C1 and W1. So, that means again we will see that if we try to have the velocity, that is the absolute velocity and relative velocity. So, pump's blade should be designed properly, so that the magnitude of these two velocity components again should not be very high, even when we are reaching at point B, right. If that is the case, then perhaps the P minimum should be higher above the PV by rho g, and perhaps cavitation can be avoided. Okay. So, what we wanted to discuss today is that when we design a pumping system, pump itself also responsible. So, pumping system design, from the system design definitely we can take care these two things, that is Hs and HSF. On the other hand, there is another important parameter, that is the pump design parameter, I mean pump design parameter, that is parameter 2, right. So, I can write, I have written pump design parameters. So, it should be pump design parameters. Okay. So, you can see that pump should be designed in such a way that the cavitation cannot be cavitation can be avoided. So, it is not only the fact that only by changing, by modulating, by suitably designing the system cavitation can be avoided, but also we need to look at the pump design parameters, so that it is also having contribution, so that it can be avoided. So, what I wanted to discuss, that you can see now, if we try to write these quantities, I mean if we go to the next slide and if we try to write that, just if we try to write the limiting condition, right. So, P minimum minus P V P, right. So, I am writing. So, if we try to write that, if we go back, so writing the equation in limiting condition, right. So, what we can write? We can write 0, I mean 0 equal to that is 0 equal to P minimum minus P v by rho g, right. Again it is, this is rho g plus minus H s plus H s f, these two terms I am taking together, and minus epsilon 3 into C 1 square plus epsilon 2 into W 1 square by 2 g, right. So, this is the equation. So, writing the equation in the limiting condition we are getting like this, then you can see that so what is this fellow and what is this fellow. If I now try to write using different color, so I can write this. So, if you try to look at P minimum by rho g minus P v b by rho g minus H s minus H s f. So, this is basically NPSH net positive suction head, that is what we have discussed. So, this is the NPSH which is available. So, if we go to the previous slide, you know that what is NPSH available? NPSH available is that, I mean where we have, so at this particular point E, so what is NPSH available? So, NPSH available is this term. So, this is known as NPSH available. This available things, so NPSH available, the amount of net positive suction head which is available at the suction side, that is essentially depend on the suction line condition, that is depend on the static height and also the frictional losses, right. What about this quantity? This is known as NPSH required, which is very important. So, basically you know that when a pump is designed, a pump designer should take into account that what will be NPSH required, right. So, if we go to the previous slide wherein I have drawn the schematic depiction, you know that it is obvious that when liquid will take a change in direction from purely axial to the radial direction, and also due to the constricted flow passage, velocity will increase, liquid will accelerate, that we cannot prevent, and that is what is there. So, at the cost of that increment in flow fluid velocity, pressure will fall, and if pressure falls below the vapor pressure, cavitation will occur. So, pump designer should take into account that he should design the pump in such a way that the increment in flow velocity at point B should not be very high, so that this quantity, I mean this quantity should be very high. If this quantity is very high, then perhaps it will be always greater than P v by, I mean if this quantity is very high, then this equation will not be valid. So, if this quantity is very high, this is minus sign. So, P minimum by rho g that is available at point B should be minimum, and it may be even lesser than P v by rho g. So, that is why a pump designer should take into account by suitably selecting the inlet guide vane, so that the NPSH required is also important in the context of cavitation. So, at least in today's class we have identified that if we really need to have cavitation free operation of a pumping system, then suction line condition is responsible. Also, what is important to note that the NPSH is required, that is the pump system, pump design, that is the design of the pump itself, design parameter of the pumps itself should be done carefully, I mean should be taken carefully. Okay. So, you can understand that is NPSH available plus NPSH required. If NPSH available is equal to NPSH required, so that means if this quantity, so that is P minimum minus P v by rho g minus H s plus H s f equal to epsilon 3 into C 1 square plus epsilon 2 into W 1 square by 2 g, right. So, when this quantity they are equal each other, then you can see that when NPSH available is equal to NPSH required, probably that is the onset of cavitation. So, that is an warning. So, right. So, basically when NPSH available is equal to NPSH required, that is a kind of alarming situation, that is a warning that cavitation may start, onset of cavitation. So, right. So, basically this is NPSH available is equal to NPSH required. So, at that point cavitation may start. So, this fellow should be always greater than this fellow, that means cavitation not to occur. So, when NPSH available, so this is NPSH available, this is NPSH required. Okay. So, when NPSH available equal to NPSH required, so that is just onset of cavitation. So, cavitation free operation NPSH available should be greater than NPSH required. This is very important. So, NPSH available should be always greater than NPSH required to avoid, to prevent cavitation. Okay. So, if we try to summarize today's discussion, that our objective was to see that the effect of the system parameters, whether it is the system parameters or the parameters of the system in which pump is equipped, pump is placed or pump is installed, whether it is I mean you can use. So, the system in which pump is installed, the suction side parameter we need to take very carefully, we need to design accordingly. Also the design parameter of the pump itself, and that is lead to the requirement of an NPSH, that is NPSH required. So, these two parameters are very important. Now, I will tell you that if you try to recall that I already told that this epsilon 2 and epsilon 1, that is what I had written, right. So, these two parameters, not epsilon 3, because epsilon 3 is epsilon 1 plus 1. So, 1 plus epsilon 1 is epsilon 3, that is what I have written only for the sake of convenience in writing, but epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, these two parameters are obtained from the experimental investigations, and typically epsilon 1, this epsilon 1 is varies from 1.1 to 1.3, and epsilon sorry I am writing epsilon 1 epsilon 3. So, this is 0.1 to 0.3. So, from 0.1 to 0.3 and epsilon 2 it varies from 0.25 to 0.35. If I am correct, if I am correct, then epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, these two parameters varies between in this range, and these two are obtained from experimental investigation. Okay. To summarize today's discussion, that what we have discussed today is that we have identified that in addition to the system parameters in which pump is installed, the design parameter of the pump also plays an important role. What is the design parameter? At least from today's discussion you can understand that I mean if we go back to the previous slide, that at least beta 1 should be taken in such a way that depending on the magnitude of beta 1, essentially at point E, depending on the magnitude of beta 1, W1 and C1 will depend, because E1 is fixed, that we cannot control. Of course, we can design the inlet diameter of the impeller at the inlet. So, we need to select beta 1 in such a way that at point B, I mean at point B, when we are taking little inside towards the flow passage, so the magnitude of C1 and W1 will be such that the magnitude of this quantity should not be very high. If these two velocity components are very high, then the magnitude of these two velocity components is very high, then perhaps the cavitation cannot be avoided. So, we have at least identified the system and the system parameter. Also, we have identified that there is a term which is known as NPSH required. So, basically the required data that will be provided by the pump designer, right. So, whenever anyone is going to purchase a pump for its application in different industries, the NPSH required, that information will be provided by the pump designer. Knowing the NPSH required, a system designer should design the system in such a way that like the suction height of the static height of the suction pipeline, presence of valves bends, so that NPSH available, that is that depends on the site in which pump is installed, right. So, the system designers should design the system accordingly, so that the cavitation can be avoided. What is most important to tell you that why I am discussing these topics so many times, because eventually someone has to design a system in such a way that cavitation, rather the probability of having cavitation can be avoided. It is very detrimental for the pump operation, and it is I mean, that is why we should take sufficient preventive measures to arrest it. So, with this I stop here today, and we will discuss in the next class. Thank you.